Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Wit or Without. Our ode to Philadelphia told one story at a time. I'm your host, Dennis Valerino, with my longtime friend and co-host, Michael Moffatt. Michael, you know what Grandpa Valerino always said? Danny, everybody got a story.
And we're talking to local legends like Angelo Cataldi, Joe Conklin, Big Rube Harley, David Usikinnon, and incredible, intriguing stories from
people like Vince Marie, Captain Joe Sacchetti, Sister Mary Scullion, Vincent D. Pasquale, Eddie Berner, Anne Marie Kelly, author Alan Goldblum, radio legend Mark Rayfield, WMMR legend Michael Mad Dog Tierson, Chip Chantry, Martha Cooney, and today's first guest ever, Coach Phil Martelli.
So if you're riding a yellow or stuck on a Schuylkill, however you digest your podcast, sit back, relax, turn it up, because around here, you got to decide, with or without.
I'm very excited about today's guest. When you think about Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia college coaches, you think of John Chaney, Fran Dunphy, Jay Wright, and you think of this man here today, Coach Phil Martelli. Coach, thanks for coming today.
Thank you. I'm not sure I belong on that mountain. There's a lot of guys that have gone through there and coached, but I am honored to have represented St. Joseph's and represented Philadelphia on those sidelines. And I stood on the shoulders of many great people, Jack Ramsey and Jim Lynam and Rolly Massimino, and to have stood alongside of Fran Dunphy and Jay Wright, who are dear, dear friends, and John Chaney, remarkable man. So thank you for that.
You're born August 31st, 1954. Where?
Mount Clemens, Michigan. My father was in the Air Force at the time, and we were there for, I was told, I don't remember this, but we were there for 9 months and then moved to Southwest Philadelphia, Bartram Gardens. Was raised in Southwest Philly until I was 12 years old, then moved to Delaware County.
Okay.
Lansdowne, Delaware County.
Martelli, are you 100% Italian?
No, my mother's maiden name was McCormick.
Can you tell us about your mom?
The first thing that pops into my mind is she was stay at home forever. And then all of a sudden, maybe when I was in high school, she started to waitress at a catering service. She came from a big family, and my mother never drove, never got a driver's license, and eventually worked at the Hilton right there at the University of Pennsylvania. She had a unique way of caring for each of us individually. I was the oldest of 8. I had a brother die at birth. And my mother was a reader, and she instilled that in all of us. She walked us to the public library every Tuesday afternoon in the summer. Came to every game. She never really had an opinion about coaching, nor did my father, but they came to every single game because they wanted to love their son.
Yeah. Tell us about your dad.
My father was an interesting guy. He worked forever at DuPont on Grays Ferry Avenue in South Philadelphia. He was a chemist assistant. He was not an assistant chemist. He was a chemist assistant, and then would leave there and work for Misericordia Hospital in Southwest Philly. He was a billing agent there, worked at night, and he also sold tickets for the Phillies, probably the Sixers. He sold tickets at the racetrack up in Northeast Philly, and never missed a game. Never missed a game I played in high school, never missed a game I played in college. He was an unbelievably gregarious guy, always with a thank you to everybody that he met, and so appreciative of others' efforts. He never turned down a request to help others, and that was a lesson learned by both my mother and father.
How was he on the sidelines?
My father when I was young, he was very, very hard on the referees. And then when I became a head high school coach, he and I had a meeting, and I said, you know what, I think you have to take a step back off of that. And he was great. He was a avid fan. He came to every practice when I was at St. Joe's. He came to every practice.
And watched
and didn't comment, would say hello, and was always complimentary of the players.
That dichotomy of him being such a nice guy, saying thank you to everyone, and yet on the refs all the time.
Well, yeah, that's when I was young. He was really believed in fairness. And I think there were times when he didn't feel like it was you were
fair.
getting a fair shot.
So you have 7 siblings?
7, yes.
You want to talk about them? They all still with us?
No, my brother passed away when he was at birth. My sister passed away when she was probably 50, maybe even younger than that. Oldest girl works for the Chamber of Commerce, Chester County Chamber of Commerce. She has 2 children and 4 or 5 grandchildren.
So you're a great-grandfather also.
No, not me.
Oh, not you?
No, not
Okay,
me.
okay.
No, I'm a grandfather of 10.
Okay.
My sister Rose lives in Norristown. She's unbelievable. Her job was IC unit, babies in NICUs. Tough job. My sister Patty Ann passed away. She lived in Coatesville. My sister Christine lives in Coatesville. And my brother Stephen lives in Chicago. My sister Lisa, the youngest, is a school teacher for 30-some years in Ridley Township. She has twin girls. Very supportive family and different interests. Like no one else got into basketball. No one else got into coaching.
No other athletes?
No. My sister, the oldest girl, Marianne, she does aerobic training and she's done a lot of running in her life.
You're the oldest, right?
Yes.
What role does that make you play in the family? And did that help you in your coaching?
That's a good question. I would say, I don't know that it really impacted my coaching. Mm-hmm. The role that it played is that I probably was allowed to try things, whether it was I'm just going to go to the courts and play and maybe I didn't have to check in when they were younger and they had to check in, they had to be there. And obviously I got a lot of support. I knew it. I knew that it was, my mother and father were always there. And my brother and sister, they could go do their thing. Like it wasn't like they had to come to every game and there wasn't this adulation. Right. Other than from my grandmother, my Irish grandmother.
She adored you.
She did. She thought I could be president and pope at the same time.
So you're born in 54. You're 6 when the 60s start. What's Philly like in the 60s?
That's a really good question because I don't know. I don't know that I knew this. I knew that living in Southwest Philly, living in Philadelphia, was a matter of what school you'd go to. So I went to St. Barnabas, and when you went home, you started when you were young and you ventured onto your street. And on your street, you played box ball and wire ball and step ball. And in the alley, if the alley was big enough, you could play wiffle ball. And obviously, everybody's played football on the street, and the telephone poles are the end zones.
No once.
Wire ball.
Right?
No once.
I loved wire ball.
You know, when it was snowy, you play tackle, and then I think when you get, I'm going to say 8, 9, you find out your local playground, and you went there every day. I was in that playground every single day. Finnegan at 69th and Dix, and when it was football, you played football, and when it was baseball, you played baseball. You played much longer baseball than the kids nowadays play baseball. I thought you played baseball a lot longer. And I can remember vaguely basketball at Tilden Junior High School, but only a little bit of basketball. Wasn't into basketball until I moved to the suburbs, and I met these 3 CYO coaches, and they were phenomenal. But I was a playground rat. You know, we went to the playground and figured out a way to play.
Morning, noon, and night.
Right. You went home for dinner, and you came back, and you played, and you hung out, and you watched. I mean, you know, some of the older guys were into stuff, and you'd be like, I don't know if that's really what I want to get into. And very territorial, as you well know. You were very territorial.
Yes.
Like Finnegan was the best playground.
Yes.
Outsiders aren't coming in here to play. You know, we have enough people. And
What about the Martelli Shore? What's vacations like?
No shore.
No shore point?
No. I'm not saying we were poor, but we didn't do like a week. We maybe would visit family for a day, but nothing strikes me as a sure.
You didn't go for a week. You didn't go to the boardwalk and
it wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing. For me.
All right.
Yeah.
Eight kids, 1 bathroom.
Yes.
How's that happen? How does that? You know, the way we live now, and then
yes,
the way you live in a row
really
house
don't
in
know
Philly.
how they do it because my sister Marianne lives in my parents' home, and when I go there, I'm like, I can't even imagine, because we moved from the row home in Southwest to the single home in Lansdowne. It doesn't equate that you could do that.
I had 2 twin sisters. I know how
Yeah.
it feels.
Where did you go to high school?
St. Joe Prep.
How does, like you said, you didn't get down to Shores, 8 people now. How does somebody like Phil Martelli get to St. Joe's Prep? How do you afford it?
Fascinating story.
Yeah. Okay.
Fascinating story. I was at St. Philomena's in Lansdowne. I was in the 8th grade, and I was fascinated with St. Joe Prep without knowing anything about it, because I thought it was the bridge to St. Joe College. I was a lunatic St. Joe College basketball fan.
And you were already thinking St. Joe's.
I'm always already thinking about, well, how do you go there? You must have to go to this St. Joe Prep.
Right.
So in the course of, and I was a good student. I was a good student, and the nuns found a scholarship in the archives at St. Philomena's. The McEwen family, Steve McEwen would go on to be the district attorney of Delaware County. His father was a judge, Judge McEwen. He had a son, Judge McEwen had a son who had passed away. They had dedicated a scholarship to St. Joe's Prep in the name of their son. The nuns found it, told my mother about it. My mother told me one Sunday after Mass to go around, knock on the door, and ask the judge if I could get that scholarship.
Oh, wow. And the judge gave it to you.
And because I had been admitted, I had taken the exam, but we didn't have $600. That was when schools were free. So there was not $600. And when I went around, the judge asked me some questions. He gave me the family scholarship. That's how I could go to St. Joe's Prep. $600 as a freshman. By the time I was a junior, it was $1,800.
Wow, tripled.
The first day that I went to school, I got on the trolley. I went to 69th Street. I went to Yale.
Because it's a half hour away, or it's 10 miles,
It's
right?
a while.
It's a different world.
From Delaware County. And then I got on the L, got to City Hall, took the Broad Street to Broad and Girard, and then walked over, came home the same way, and it was a little iffy. It seemed to me to be a lot of downtime.
Right.
And I was used to go. And my grade school coach was a banker at Broad and Walnut, and he said, I'll drive you to school.
Every day.
He would drive me to school from Lansdowne, Delaware County, to 17th and Girard, and then he would go park, and he would work for it. And then coming home, I don't have a real recollection of how I got home.
Because I guess he had
Because
practice.
I was at basketball, and many times I would probably get in a car with somebody headed to Delaware County and figure it out from when I got to Delaware County.
What's your high school career like?
I was on a Catholic League championship team in 1971. I played with a all-time great Philadelphia player, Maurice Howard. I could really pass. I could really understand. I was not very athletic, but I was very sure with the ball. I hope that I was a good teammate. I don't know that I was a great teammate. I was appreciative of playing the game. So I played freshman basketball at the Prep. I played JV as a sophomore. I started varsity as a junior. I didn't start as a senior. We had a coaching change. And I was fascinated by basketball at a very early age.
When do you start thinking about from player to coach? When?
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade was when I started. I went back to the grade schools. When I was in college, I would go back and coach all-star teams, help with all-star teams.
Did you meet anybody?
It was ninth grade. No, I mean, I played on the playground at 58th and Kingsessing. I was in ninth grade. I played against Joe Bryant when he was in ninth grade.
Wow. That's Kobe's dad,
Kobe's
right?
dad. And he was a great player at Bartram and LaSalle College at the time. I studied a lot. I studied basketball and how guys talk, not the X's and O's, but more how they dealt with all the other things. So it was a process, along the way you play against and then end up coaching against Speedy Morris and all the legendary Catholic League coaches in all the legendary gyms, iconic gyms. So it was all an education, and I considered everybody that I met through the game to be, as you opened the show with the Mount Rushmore, I consider all these people to be just extraordinary people that I had a chance to meet.
You say that you went from junior year starting, senior year not starting, but yet you still wanted to play in college.
Absolutely.
Were you being recruited?
No.
Were you
no,
looking?
I would get some inquiries from what I didn't know. I didn't know Division II, Division III. I would get inquiries and I would answer them.
Did you go anywhere?
There was always a thing about geography was a big deal to me. Like I was fascinated as a young kid by politics, and I thought, you know what, Washington D.C. would be decent. I didn't think a thing about the cost. I never thought like this is going to be a hardship for my family and financial aid and all those kind of things. I wanted to be at a place where I could play, and then as I got involved with it and I would talk to different schools, I thought the other thing is if you're going to sacrifice your time here, then there's only one reason to play, and that's to win championships. And so that's how I ended up at Widener, and it was very late at Widener. I was playing in the long-time traditional summer league at Narberth, and the coach came up to me and said, "Do you want to come visit the school?" And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, I didn't have a real geography on Chester compared to Lansdowne or Philadelphia or anything like that. I took the bus to visit the school.
By yourself?
Took the bus by myself and walked around, and the two young ladies from the admissions office walked me around, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. How do you do this? And then I had to go home, and my father had to fill out the forms, and it was in the summer when I decided. And that was hard because St. Joe Prep prepares you to go to college. So any number of people in my class were saying, I'm going here, I'm going there, and you say to people, I'm not sure yet. And I do think that things like the nuns finding the scholarship to go to St. Joe Prep, I think that waiting that long to go to Widener, I think it was influenced by a much greater power than myself, and it was really working God's plan. And had I not gone to St. Joe Prep, had I not gone to Widener, had I not, while I was at Widener, checked in with the all-time sports writer Dick Weiss to say I want to coach, and him recommending me go to Kathy Rush's camp and work, and had I not met Kathy, I would not have met my wife Judy.
Well, Kathy Rush is, so everyone knows, is
Hall of Fame coach at Immaculata College.
The movie's about her.
There's the Mighty Mac movie is
Gargano
about her
does.
team.
Right. Do you remember seeing Judy for the first time?
Yes.
Tell
I
us.
was walking, very similar to here. I walked up and sitting on the porch of this lodge in the Poconos where we were going to work basketball camp. There was a young lady sitting there, and I thought, she's really attractive, and just went about my business and found out she was a counselor, and she was a Mighty Mac. She was friends with Dick Weiss. I was friends with Dick Weiss, and we kind of hit it off from there.
Where does Phil Martelli, ladies' man, take Judy for a first date?
Oh, this is a great story. Franklin Field, Temple versus Penn State. I think Penn State wins like 10-9 on a late field goal.
And Paterno's not even there yet, is he?
Oh, Paterno's
he's there already?
Paterno's the coach.
Okay.
Yeah, Temple, Penn State at Franklin Field. 75. Yeah, September of 75.
Okay.
Free tickets from Dick Weiss, so didn't cost anything there. And I don't know where I parked to go to Franklin Field, but...
Okay,
yeah,
I roll a ball out on a court, and Judy's there, and Phil's there. Who wins?
Well, she could really shoot.
You have no one to pass to.
If it was a shooting contest, she would win. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, just leave it at that. Did her parents like you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they, wondered because I was a college senior. She had graduated. She was working for Western Savings Bank. You don't fall on formalities as a college senior. You kind of come and go, and your timing is different. Like you might not go out till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Right. How long is it before you say get engaged? I know you're...
Oh, it was quick. It was... our first date was September, and we were engaged in December.
Wow. The kids nowadays would not understand that.
Yeah, it took me 15 years.
Yeah. So it's 4 months. You're a senior.
I'm a senior in college.
How do you get money for, let's say, a ring?
This is another one. You hit all the good stories here. I went to see my grandfather, who lived in Southwest Philadelphia on Grays Ferry. Lived off of Grays Ferry Avenue. He lived on 29th Street.
Paternal, maternal?
My paternal grandfather. I told him what I was doing. I was going to get engaged. He said, okay, you need to go to this place. You need to go to this place. And he told me how to knock on the door on Jewelry Road. Told me how to knock on the door. Tell him you're Oscar's. That was his nickname, Oscar, because he worked at Oscar Mayer. Asked me to knock on the door, tell him I was Oscar's grandson. They would take care of it. And so I was sitting there, and I said, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to give the guy.
You just went and knocked.
No.
Okay.
When I was sitting with my grandfather,
okay.
and my grandfather said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Could you lend me the money?" And he went down into his basement and came back and gave me $600 or whatever it was. He goes, when you get on your feet, you can pay me back on it. Wow. And I went and I knocked on the door, and that's what happened.
That's awesome.
That's a great grandfather.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What's your degree in?
I have a certificate to teach secondary, and I have a political science.
Okay, so you graduate, you get married, you wait a while.
We're getting married that November, and I'm looking and searching now because of
Searching for a job.
Yeah, because of what I was driven by. I had a basketball coaching job. I was the JV basketball coach at Cardinal O'Hara High School. I didn't have a full-time job. So that was tough for Judy and her family because they're planning this wedding, and they plan them to the nth degree. And I'm saying, yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I lean back on the IHMs. My aunt was an IHM, 2 aunts that were IHM, and I get a teaching job. My first teaching job was at St. Martin at Tours on Roosevelt Boulevard. I'm living in Delaware County. I'm driving to St. Martin at Tours, teaching 7th grade. I made $4,000.
Wow.
And then I would drive from there, and I would drive to O'Hara, and I would coach JV basketball. And I would work in the summer to work the camp. But I bet probably at the end of the day, I probably didn't bring home $18,000.
Wow.
So we were married in November. Judy was working for a bank. We didn't have any. I mean, we had kindness of her family. We didn't have much to go on. And then I did that for 2 years. Then I went back and worked for Kathy Rush. I ran her basketball camps all year long, planning and promoting, and worked there in the summer. And got the coaching job at Bishop Kenrick High School 2 years out of high school. We moved to Norristown. It was a little bit better working for Kathy. Coaching at Kenrick, I ran a basketball camp. So there were some other things that I was doing.
Are you teaching still?
Yeah, I'm teaching. No. I'm just working for the camp. Do that for a couple years, and then I stop and I take a teaching job at the Protectory, St. Gabe's Hall. All the kids were court adjudicated.
Okay.
And I was teaching there. I bought into a bar. So I was a bar owner, thinking it was just be cash after cash, and It wasn't. Very challenging business.
And then you're the head coach at Bishop Kenrick.
And I'm the head coach at Bishop Kenrick.
This blew my mind. Your assistant coach is?
Gino Oriema.
How does Gino become your assistant coach?
Well, we both worked at Kathy Rush's basketball camp, and I knew he was a graduate of Bishop Kenrick. He was coaching Bishop McDevitt girls basketball, and then St. Joe's University, or St. Joe College at the time, basketball with Jim Foster. And we would be out after working camp, and he said, I really want to coach boys. And I said, well, when I get this, I got the Kenrick job, and I said, would you think about coming and joining me? And he did. And we were together. Neither of us had children at the time. We were probably together 350 days a year. We treated that program as if it was a college program.
Wow. There's 65-year-old guys now, 70-year-old guys, right? You go into a bar and they're sitting there going, yeah, my head coach was Phil Martelli and my assistant coach was Gina Oriema.
Yeah,
you're calling them a liar, right?
Yeah, those guys are probably, well, I was 23 and I'm 71, so the oldest kid might have been 18. So yeah, they could be 60, mid-60s and younger. In fact, one team stays in touch. One team is on a text chain. They must have 25 guys.
Wow.
And it's all the time. When something happens with Chino, they'll text it to the whole group, or something happens with me, and they've included me in there. The only thing that we haven't done is been able to get them all together which we would like to do because Gino has a home in Avalon, New Jersey. I have a home in Avalon, New Jersey, and it would be really cool to see those guys and to hear their remembrances, because I don't have a great memory. I just know that I am so grateful to all the players that I coach at Bishop Kenrick, because I can make a lot of mistakes, and I got better because of them allowing me to make mistakes.
How long were you there?
I was at Kenrick for 7 years.
And Gino?
Gino was with me for 2 years.
Then you go to
St. Joe's, but I was part-time. Well, Jim Boyle was the coach at St. Joe's at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was my coach at Widener. He knew I was interested in coaching, and I had success at high school, but I was always wondering if what would it be like to coach that next level. And he offered me a job, and it was part-time. So if you can imagine, part-time for the Catholics is really part-time. I'm there a year and a full-time job. I was teaching still. I was teaching at St. Gabe's Hall, and I would go to St. Joe's every afternoon. Some road trips, I couldn't go on the road trips because I had school. A year in, one of the assistant coaches leaves, and Jim Boyle said, "Would you like to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." At that time, I said, "Yeah, I would love to learn more about recruiting and administering a program." And so that's when I started. And I was at St. Joe's for 10 years with John Griffin and Jim Boyle.
Now Jim Boyle leaves. He gets another
Jim Boyle
job.
retires.
Okay.
He announces his retirement. And now there's a question of whether they'll keep you on. So I knew that at the time, Paul Cremier was a finalist. John Griffin was a finalist, and I reached out to both of them and said, "I would like to stay if that's possible. If you would have me, I would like to stay." Knowing that I have 3 kids, and where am I thinking, well, I'm going to go back and be a high school coach and a high school teacher, but I would really like to stay in college. And John was kind enough when he came to interview me and ask me to stay with him.
And you stay there another 5 years under John. When he leaves, he doesn't go anywhere, right? He's not.
He just
retired.
he grew tired of coaching, so he went back into the financial world.
Okay. Did he retire? Did
Yes.
he retired knowing that you were going to take over? Was that like?
No,
He just
hoped.
retired, and
He hoped that would happen.
that wasn't
And then-
set up pre.
And then the finalists were James Bruiser Flint and myself, and James Bruiser Flint was a alum. No alum had ever been hired at St. Joseph since 1946. So there was a history. He was a player, a very, very, very affable guy, good basketball man, Philadelphian, the whole bit. And we went through the process, and they called and said that they would like me to be the coach.
Great. And then Bruiser gets a job at Drexel a couple years
No,
later.
he gets a job at UMass first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was the coach at UMass.
Oh, wow. Can we stop for a second and talk about how you're juggling all your hats now that you become the head coach? You're father, like you said, of 3, husband, coach, recruiter.
I was all in.
How do you do that?
Every part of being the head coach. And it was my teams and my university before my family. Knowing that they were all bought in, because my wife had played and she had coached a little bit. My sons were into the game. My daughter was into the game. And we were in the fabric of that job. So if it was recruiting or summer camp, radio show, TV show, whatever, it was going to be done to the best of my ability, knowing that it was going to provide my family opportunities if I was good at what I was doing.
Right.
So there were sacrifices. There were any number of family occasions that Judy went alone. There were things missed. But I always balance this with, I also had the opportunity in the middle of the day, if there was an awards assembly at school and my children were involved, I could go in the middle of the day because I was the master of my own time. If that meant I had to work later that night, I wasn't opposed to that, or go early. But I was the coach and the representative of St. Joseph's University 24 hours a day. And so whatever that entailed, I wanted to be a part of. Retrospectively, I don't think I was as helpful to my assistant coaches. Some of the things I could have dealt to them and let them get more comfortable with alumni, get them more comfortable with public speaking, get them more comfortable with the organizational part of the program. I went A to Z. If you came to my summer camp, I was there every minute of every day. I was the first person you saw in the morning, And if it was an overnight camp, I checked on every room at night. That camp had my name on it. It was not going to be run any way other than with my hand on it.
You were hands-on.
Absolutely.
Now, you have your dream job.
I do.
You've been thinking about this for...
My whole life.
And you're 41, 42, 43, 40?
I can't remember.
And it's 1995?
Yeah, so in 95, I would be 40, 30 years.
What's that feel like to
Well,
get
it
you
was surreal.
the dream?
It was... I did not know my first year how long my contract was, nor what I was being paid. I just wanted to do that job.
You're not negotiating too well.
No, I didn't, and really, negotiate. I only did it once, and I would never do it again after that contract.
Wow. So you're in your first year. Do you remember your first practice?
Oh yeah, I know. I remember my first practice. I know it was well organized. I know that it was an emphasis on what I thought was important and how I wanted to run a practice. I can never ever turn back the benefits from my high school experience. So I ran a similar practice in high school because I learned how to do that.
From who?
From Kathy Rush.
It's funny because you say all those men that you were, and yet
she taught me how
Kathy
to run a
Rush
practice.
is how.
She taught me how to run a practice. And so that idea, yeah, I can remember the excitement. I can remember the focus was always, in everything that I did in my career was, can we improve? Can we improve? Not just in basketball, but can we improve as a program? And that's what I focused on every day in practice.
Your first year go pretty well.
We played in the NIT championship game. Busloads and busloads of people went and took over Madison Square Garden, and we lost to Alabama or South Carolina. We lost to South Carolina in the NIT championship game.
Second year, Sweet 16.
Second year was Sweet 16, lost to Kentucky.
End of the year, you ranked 12.
Yeah.
Pretty successful.
Yeah, it was again, we had Philadelphians. We had Philadelphians that were tough-minded. We did some unusual things. We played 2 games in Utah, won to make the Sweet 16 against Kentucky. And the NCAA said, do you want to go to your next location, which is San Jose? And I looked at them like they were crazy. I said, no, we're going home. I have Philadelphians on my team. These kids are homesick already. They've been here for 2 games. We're not going to. We went home from Utah to Philadelphia for a day and a half and then went to San Jose.
So as a head coach, when you say Philadelphian, tell me the difference between a Philadelphia kid playing basketball and when you get someone from outside the area, anywhere else.
Well, Philadelphia kid, I think more it's the Philadelphia kid, because you can be from outside the area and have the Philadelphia trait. Philadelphia trait to me is that whatever it is, it could be a sales job, it could be a school teacher, it could be whatever. Philadelphia, you go in, put your heart and soul into it, and you recognize that you're not always going to win. You're not going to get every sale, you're not going to win every game, but you get knocked down, you get bloodied. And this is true of why we idolize certain athletes in Philadelphia. They get up and they say, okay, let's do that again. All we want them to do is to show us that they're human and that they'll bleed and they'll sweat. And that's what a Philadelphia basketball player does. They've been well coached growing up, whether it be on the playgrounds or on travel teams in their school year. They're well coached, and they never give you a sense of entitlement. That's what I like about Philadelphia kids.
Dirty. They do whatever it needs
They'll
throw
do
their
it.
body on the ground.
And they'll let you coach them. Coach them is not criticizing them. Coaching them is trying to lift them up. So that would be how I would describe it.
Something on the top of my head. How has the kids changed from 75 to the end of your career? Like, was there a big change? Did you have to change?
No, they still want to be. They still want you to care, and they still want you to care about them, not care about your rules, right? So I don't think that's changed. I think they want to be communicated with, not at. Communicate with people. The biggest change is that, and that's because societally, we've raised them to tell us what they think or what they're feeling. I think because we've raised them to tell us what they think or what they're feeling, we've lost their ability to listen. So I think, you have to adapt because it's a different world. Like just from my beginning of my career to the end, prevalence of social media. and the pressure of social media and the importance in their lives of social media. So you have to be aware of it. But I still believe that you can, to this day, if you have their trust and they have your trust, that they're in this for the right reason, I still think you can coach, and it's not, not the highway and byway and all that kind of nonsense and run them till they're dragging. And no. I'm just saying, you know what? I can care about you and I can coach you. Just like, to me, they really want, young people want loving parents. But the loving parent has the ability to say yes when yes is appropriate and no when no is appropriate. We're not doing enough of that.
Yeah.
We're not doing enough of that in coaching.
I heard you once say that I'm not my kid's friend, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't think...
I think too many parents try to be their friend.
I don't think you have to like, and it sounds harsh.
No.
It sounds harsh. You don't have to like, but certainly love supersedes like.
A little different. All right, so back to your coaching career. We're 3 to 4 years before Jameer. There's a time between that Sweet 16 and Jameer shows up. How's that 3 or 4 years? Do you remember that, or is it just
I don't really remember. I don't really remember. I do know that there was guys like Andre Howard transferred from Pitt back. He was from Overbrook. Marvin O'Connor transferred from Villanova back. So it all worked. That all worked. I remember competition in Philadelphia hadn't changed much. Like it was Steve Lapis and Speedy, and so it was a challenge. But I always wanted to be the best in Philadelphia at media relations. I wanted to be the best in camping. I wanted to be the best at recruiting, because I thought the competition was so severe, challenging. It was a healthy challenge. So, during those periods, it was a buildup.
Okay.
It was a buildup.
How do you get Jameer to come to St. Joe's?
Well, the collective staff overwhelmed him with our presence and made him feel special, and researched everything in Chester that was important to him, and family was important to him, and knowing that he wanted to play early was important to him. We never promised anything, but it was obvious that he was going to play a lot and he was going to play early. We lined it up that the players around him were going to accent his positives, which was his winning approach and his work approach to the game.
First couple of years, pretty good?
Really great. Yeah. I mean, great. We played in a tournament in San Diego. We were a 9 seed, and we played Stanford, number 1 seed, to the buzzer. Sophomore year, we had those whole guys back. We came in. We were nationally ranked going in, and I did not handle it well. We had 6 seniors. We did not handle it well, and we played in the NIT. And then junior year, we were not thought of very highly, and we went out. We made the NCAA tournament. Delonte West was playing full-time on that team, and then Delonte got hurt. We lost in the Atlantic 10 tournament, and then lost in the NCAA tournament in overtime to a really good Auburn team. And then he makes the decision to come back. And
does he counsel? Did he ask for your counsel then?
No. He and I talked, and I said, I will gather information if you want, but I also want to avoid anybody thinking I don't want what's best for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want anybody telling you, well, your coach is only going to think about himself. So we had one discussion about that. He kind of maneuvered his way through the process with a great mentor, Dr. Earl Pearsall. I can remember he came in and told me, I'm going to come back. And at that moment in time, I recognized that we are about to take off on something that's absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, and that's 2003-04. Talked about it ad nauseum probably since then. I guess it never gets tiring talking about it.
No, because it's the perspective. I mean, the Aaron Bracey's written a terrific book, Soaring with the Hawks, and he takes you through. Yeah, it's fascinating because his perspective. Because I have my perspective, mm-hmm. I don't have this perspective, and here's what I know: the impact. It drove home the impact of your team, because you could be at church, somebody comes out after church and they're smiling, and you know why they're smiling. The dry cleaner, the stopping for gas, and to know that you had that impact on people, to make them smile and to make them cry. Like when we lost to Oklahoma State, we came home on a Saturday night. I was Sunday. I went to Mass, And as I went to walk out of Mass, there was a dear friend sobbing, crying. And so I started crying, and I knew why. Because that moment in time would never pass again. It drove me. It's what I always wanted to repeat, but that moment in time to have captured the entire country. Because when people walk in and say, "This is your gym," and I would say, "Yeah, this is it. This is your office." Yeah, no big deal. It was about those kids that were going to be on the court.
Right.
So those moments in time, that's what I took away. When people say, "Well, what did you take away from that long career?" And I would say to you, I took away my memories and my relationships, and they'll never leave me. I mean, in this phone, there's going to be a call today from Rob Hartshorn, who was on that team. He calls me almost every day. I tried to reach Jameer the last couple of nights when I was at a Sixers game, and we connected via text. But like, they're always in my phone, those guys, and I will be eternally grateful for all players for the memories and the relationships that they've allowed me to create.
Yeah, 30 years of coaching.
Longer than that.
That is, yeah, till that point, I guess, and that's 2 weeks. It's basically 2 weeks, right? The run in the NCAA tournament.
It was
2 weeks.
yeah,
it's
it was
a whole
over
year.
2 weeks. It was
it's
over
a whole year, 27 and 0.
It was over 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks. Bang.
It was over 2 weeks, but the whole year felt
That's a
like
cherry on your whole career.
Yeah, you felt like you were in a bubble the whole year with.
Yeah.
I remember the feeling of watching that team.
Yeah.
Delonte West, does anyone hear from him?
We don't hear from him directly. I hear from his mother. I hear from people that see him on the streets, the Washington, D.C. area.
Right.
It's heartbreaking. As much as it's a blessing to talk to Jameer and him end a conversation with "I love you, Coach," or Rob Hartshorn, "I love you, Coach," to know that we did what we could, but we don't have a power over that disease, really.
Right.
It hurts. It hurts every single day.
Yeah. So then that's 2004, 2009, your book comes out, Don't Call Me Coach, right?
Reluctantly, yes.
Yeah. 2011, you passed Jack Ramsey as the second all-time winningest coach in St. Joe's. And then you pass Billy Ferguson to be number one. I guess then we skip up to 2018. Jill Bordenstein takes over for Dom DiGiulio. He's a longtime friend, 30 years. And then on 3/19/2019, you were unceremoniously let go. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't see it coming. To have served what I thought was honorably as a part of the school, I would just say that the opportunity to fix it. Was it very good the last year? No. Last year was not good. I was not good enough, and it didn't have anything to do with the play. It was I didn't reach enough of them to get going in the right direction. You know, and again, anybody has a right to have anybody that they want coach their team. So heartbroken, yes. Devastated, yes. Family impacted, yes. But it's all the other people that were impacted. The assistant coaches and their families. They didn't ask for that.
Right.
The divisions within the school itself or with along or whatever. So
you once said to Fran Dunphy that when he was, I think, fired at Temple, you said that you think that he earned being able to call his own shot on the way out.
Point, yeah.
Do you feel that way about yourself?
Yes.
And you weren't given that chance?
No.
How long does it take you to get over something like that? I mean,
Never.
40, yeah.
Never.
You end up.
Well,
with Juwan.
I just
You end
knew
up
that
in
I had more to
Michigan.
give.
Yes.
I had a locker room that I could go into. I could help. It was a perfect situation because Juwan Howard was a first-year coach. I knew the ins and outs of the NCAA and that kind of thing. I didn't know what it was like at a big school. So Juwan, because of a recommendation from John Calipari, for him to take a chance, I appreciate it. I went there to serve. I'm glad I did it. Juwan's a wonderful guy.
You were there 4 years?
5.
5.
Huge basketball encyclopedia with Juwan, with offensive basketball, and showed me love of school. He loved his school, all the school had done for him, and he wanted to pass that on to the players. He worked at individual development with players. He worked at recruiting. And then when it got away from us a little bit, he got ill, his heart. He had a heart procedure and got away from us. And I could have done more, but I was just so respectful of his love of school. He had love of school and love of family. I wish I had been more forceful in terms of when he had his heart procedure. He came back too quick. Things got frayed that particular year because of that.
So you're done at Michigan. What are you doing now?
I come home. I come home with the idea of what can I do to make a difference? So create a podcast for Make a Difference.
And you're doing that with
my nephew. I speak schools, corporates, talks, organizations where they think I can make a difference. I don't want to go there and tell war stories. Not interested in yucking it up. I mean, I consider myself a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek humorist, so I can do that. I want to dabble in broadcast TV. So last year I had an opportunity to work for Fox. I worked for Drexel. I worked for ESPN.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the preparation.
Do you enjoy the pre and post game show? Or are you looking to do
no? I like
color
the game.
commentator?
I like the game itself.
During the game, you want to be in.
I like the game itself.
Okay.
And then I keep trying to think of different avenues where I can help. So I've started the Philadelphia Coaching Academy.
Okay.
Philadelphia Coaching Academy is geared to grade school, middle school, recreation teams, travel teams, boys, girls, 5th through 8th grade coaches. And I want to show you how to perfect your practice. You all care. You're unbelievable in donating your time. Let me help you work with your 1 hour practice. And it's a 3 hours program where I speak, high school coaches speak, and then we put a high school team through the actual practice.
Okay.
I think, obviously, with VCU, I consult with VCU because my sons are the head coach and the associate head coach.
Can I interject one thing? I think when I was reading stuff, Jim Boyle's grandson is
Yes, Jim Boyle's grandson is on there.
So
Yes.
it continues the
Yes.
whole
It's the
Philadelphia
it's the
basketball
basketball world.
intertwined.
The basketball world sounds big. It's a small little circle. And then the other thing that has been really helpful for me is that I can be a present grandfather. So whether it's go watch my granddaughter play 5th and 6th play basketball, coach pitch baseball, soccer, school activities. My daughter has 4 children. She lives a mile from us. My other grandchildren are in Richmond, Virginia, 6 of them, and I want to stay in touch with them.
It's a great town.
As often as I can.
Anything I missed or anything you want to add or say today before we wrap it up?
I think the biggest opportunity, and you've done a really good job with this, is coaching's what I did. That's not who I was. And I don't minimize the coaching. I understand that. But who I am, because of the way that I was raised and the way that I was coached and the way that I was mentored, that's what I'm proudest of. The records are the records, the numbers are the numbers. And I just keep going back to everybody out there that's listening. Protect your memories and protect your relationships. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're measured on. You're not going to be measured on, well, this was your job and you did it for this number of years. No, I think it's all measured. You're all measured on who you are, not what you do.
Well, thank you, Coach. This has been a beautiful hour that I've had.
Thank you.
It's been perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow, Michael. Coach just left. It's exactly what I had envisioned. This podcast, our ode to Philadelphia, told one story at a time, and we picked a great story to start off with. I have to thank Coach Phil Martelli. I got his phone number from a friend, called him. I might have met him 2-3 times over the course of 20 years. I don't even know if you remember me. I pitch him on, I'm starting a podcast about Philadelphia people, about their life, about their story. And he was like Jeremy Renner. Whose car are we going to take? He's just like, oh, yeah, sure. Where, when? Oh, I can't do that day. I'll do this day. Come here. He showed up.
He did.
What a Philadelphia life. What a story. Guy with character. I loved it. When we have a season 2, he's coming back because I could just sit there and listen to him forever.
Great communicator. Like, you could tell he's a coach. Like, why he's such a great coach and a respected coach and a respected person around our area, because the communication and the way that he speaks is above and beyond.
But grew up just like us.
Absolutely.
Right? Playing wall ball, stick ball, wire ball, football, anything in the streets. You know, it's fun. It reminds me of Joe Conklin. He used to do this whole skit about Philly kids playing football in the streets, and that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
From red car to blue car.
I remember getting home from school about 3:15, 3:30. I knew to get home, get my books inside the house and school bag, and get down to Douglas, because, you know, during the wintertime, we were going to play some two-hand touch football in the schoolyard. During the summertime, the warm months, we were running basketball, and That's exactly what he did with his friends, and it's like the apple. Not saying he's related to me, but like the way we are in the city. I guess everybody did it the same way. Feels like
Kind of what it means to grow up in Philadelphia.
yeah.
We all have that shared experience. Parents were the same. Our neighborhoods were different but the same. You know, we all thought we had the best neighborhood. We're from the best area. It was pretty cool. I got a lot of stuff out of that, and I still would have to think about all the things that he talked about. Right?
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Just that one of the most interesting things to me before coaching and everything, he dabbled in the bar business and wanted to be a bar owner.
But he always wanted to be a coach, and he got it accomplished. One of the things that stuck with me is all the men that he did say came before him and he learned from. And then when they ask him straight out or what he talks about or who he gives the most credit to, right? Who was it?
Kathy Rush.
Kathy Rush.
Yeah. You know what? To this day, I always say, like, men are great leaders, and women are great leaders, but I believe women are more detail-oriented than men. So
Don't get us canceled on our first.
yeah, right?
Please. But yeah, she taught him, what did he say? She taught me how to run a practice and plan,
Yeah.
right? He credited her, and that's where he found his wife,
Yes.
Judy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in that household, he's probably not the best basketball player.
Yeah, right. They might be the best at teaching basketball.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Now he's got a son down at VCU, which I had a daughter
Yes.
who played at VCU, girls lacrosse, and now she's made a life in Richmond, and she goes to the games and cheers him on. It's
Yeah.
pretty neat. The other thing I found amazing, the guy, you know, people like this don't get enough credit. He, in middle school, started thinking about going to St. Joe's to play at St. Joe's, played in high school, probably realized he wasn't going to play at St. Joe's, but always loved St. Joe's, went to high school to get there, then eventually works his way back there to coach, coaches all those years there, has the best year of his life in 2003 and 4 with Jameer, who's another Philadelphia story, and has a 27-0 year, gets the Elite Eight, a bounce here or there, he's in the Final Four. You know the big guys came calling for him. I don't know. My memory, I think I remember Rutgers, maybe Penn State, other biggies, Seton Hall, maybe Providence, all sniffing around. For some reason, I think Memphis, I'm not sure. This is just 20 years later, 20-some years later. But the big money came, and he could have cashed in. But his heart is at St. Joe's. He stays at St. Joe's. He loves it. He loves the city, raising his family here. Stays here, turns all that down. Not enough credit for that. Then this outsider, and I hate to speak badly of someone that I don't know, and I have no idea the whole story, but, you know, he's there till 2018, and then he gets shit canned. That's the thanks you get, right? By Jill Bodensteiner. She's not even in Philadelphia. She's from Indiana, and she just doesn't know. Like, a guy like that, like he said, he should have been allowed to
Leave on his own terms.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it still hurts him.
Absolutely.
Still hurts him. The Hawk will never die inside of him, that's for sure.
Yes.
But what a great story. Going to keep it on the positive.
Yeah.
What a great guy. I really appreciate him coming here. I hope that everybody enjoys it the way we enjoyed it, or the way I enjoyed finding out about stuff. Gino Auriemma,
Where he
that guy's won what, 12 national championships with UConn? 12?
Ladies.
What's that mean?
No.
Is that worse than the men?
No, it's not. No,
All right.
It's legal, you know?
No, it is not. He was his assistant coach when he was younger. Again, another Kathy Rush story, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Bradley Cooper has been wanting to come on, but hey, this is a true Philadelphia story, right? And he stayed here. Bradley went off to, what, L.A.?
L.A.
Went to Villanova, but then took off to Georgetown. Then he went to L.A.
Wait, he went to Villanova, then Georgetown?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That is totally...
He went to Villanova for 1 year, which is still Philly.
Yeah, that's cool, but...
But then he takes off to Georgetown.
He comes a Hoya.
Oh, well. What are you going to do? So anyway, Bradley, keep trying. We'll try to fit you on soon. But I really appreciate it. I hope everyone had a great time listening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're out.